All right, cool. I think we're live. Let's see. Let's do a quick audio and video check. Check, check. Let me know if you guys can see and hear me correctly and everything is working here. All right, let's see. I've got our chat messages here. Drop a message, guys. Let me know if you can see and hear me. All right, guys, you are already dropping questions in. Great, great. I love that. I also got a couple questions from the community in advance, which we're going to be discussing as well. All right, you got audio and video. Love it. All right, what's up, Moldman? What's up, Sam? Richard is here. Aussie Reaper Hub. Love it. All right, Max is here. Good. John Pierce. Good to see you all, guys. Love it. All right, let's see how many of you all are here. We got 20 people. Ah, that's good. That's good. It's a good start. It's all fine. If you don't have any questions at the moment, then of course you're not going to be attending some Q&A call, right? So that's all fine. Awesome. All right, let's see. Let's hang on an extra minute or so for people that want to join us. And then we'll just get started into all of you guys' questions. How's all your Tuesdays going? Where are you guys tuning in from? All right, we got Sitze here, my man, personal friend here. Love you, buddy. Hope you're doing well, man. We got Mickey here. Good to see you as well, dude. A lot of familiar names here, which is awesome to see. Nice shirt. I wonder who said that. Somebody on our team, obviously, but is it Sean? Is it Jordan? Who knows? Who knows? All right, cool. Let's not stall any longer. Actually, let me know where you guys are tuning in from. I'd love to see and hear some city names. Okay, Max is in Quebec. I knew that, Max. Like I said, lots of familiar names, so that's awesome. We got Johan from Sweden. Frode is from Norway. I knew that, Frode. It's good to see your name here, dude. Hope you're doing well. John is from San Jose, California. I love it. Connecticut, Lucas. Again, man, I knew that. A lot of you guys I already know, so that's awesome. Kimos, Finland. Yes, awesome. Moldman is from Pittsford, New York. Alrighty. Love it. All right, guys. Well, welcome to the Q&A call. And this is going to be a call where instead of you guys asking me questions, which you already have been doing, I'm just going to ask you guys questions. And that one question is, what's holding you back? Right, that's going to be our theme today. What's holding you guys back from getting your recordings to sound professional right from the start of the process, right? And what's holding you back from getting your edits to be as quick and effective and artifact-free as possible? And what's holding you back from getting pro mixes? Anything that's holding you back, let's talk about it. Can even be business, because a lot of you guys are already asking about clients and how to get more clients and how to deal with your job and all these good things that we're going to be discussing here. So yeah, anything that is holding you back right now, please drop it in the chat and we'll discuss all these things one by one. All right, let's see. Het was een mooi Brabant, Sietse. Heck yeah, man. All right, let's see. Tim English, love it. Tennessee, we got here. No questions, and still on the explosion learning phase. Need to know everything. Love it. Yeah, just binge watch the entire training program, man. You're going to learn everything. Okay, we've got USA, Kokomo, Indiana. I hope I pronounced that right. We got Helmery here, PPS gang. Heck yeah, dude. Austin, Texas, Victoria. Love it. Andreas from Sweden. Nice. Australia. All right. I hope it's not the middle of the night or something, wherever you guys are. Reed is here. Reed is a good friend. PPS guy. Love it. All right, Slovakia. You don't have video, Reed. That's totally fine. It's just going to be me on screen here. All right, cool. I want to start by answering a question that we got in the community from Ben. And then we'll just get into all of your questions that you're going to be posting in the chat in the meantime. Let me see. Let me pull it up. Ben was asking, my main hang up right now is I've done blue collar work my whole life and always done music on the side, trying to get my brain to even accept the concept of doing something in a studio for a living is something I'm really trying to work on to be able to take my pursuit of audio production seriously. Any words of advice or experience in getting over the fear of taking that first step? I literally have a welding hood on as I'm typing this. Haha. Ben, dude, I can relate. I literally was a welder before being a music producer as well. I've been welding for 2 years, followed by being a house painter for 12 years. And so I've always worked blue collar as well. And so the switch to doing production was just as big for me as it is going to be for you. It's weird, man, because blue collar, it's a mindset, right? It's a way to do things. It's like the more effort and the more muscle you put into something, the more money you're going to be making. And that is the entire point of working construction, welding, all these jobs. And that is something that's just not going to be happening in the studio, right? It doesn't have to do a lot with, your income doesn't have a lot to do with how much muscle you put in and how much effort and how much effort, of course, yes, but I mean, like, not in the sense of like literal, like, physical effort, right? It's way more about like delivering results, being able to deliver good results for people, and then they're gonna pay you for that. But that has nothing to do with how much time it takes you to get those results, right? Because when you're starting out mixing, for example, you mix for, like, I don't know, it takes you 20 hours or like weeks to finish a song, and you charge $20 for it if you're lucky. And eventually, like Zach Cervini or something, who was charging more than $1,000 per song for just a mix, and he's doing that in probably like 30 minutes, you know what I mean? Or like maybe 2 hours or something. And so it feels unfair. It feels very unfair. But you just have to realize that it's a way different way of like earning your income than working construction is. Because, yeah, like I said, results are everything. The amount of time and sweat, let's put it like that, the amount of time and sweat it takes you to get the result there is really not significant. And so about making the steps, for me, it started with just doing it on the side as well, obviously, just as everybody here. Just doing audio on the weekends, on my evenings. And then as soon as I realized, like, hey, I want to pursue this more seriously, what I started doing was waking up earlier and doing mixing and all these things and practicing and going through all these courses and whatnot before I actually went to my house painting job. So I woke up super early, and then I got like 2 hours of mixing and practicing or whatever in before I went to my day job, and that allowed me to just be super focused on all that mixing because, hey, you're super up, you're up super early, so nobody's going to be bothering you whatsoever. Allows you to hyper focus on that stuff, get a full work day of mixing in those 2 hours before work, and then you just do your normal day job, and then of course in the weekends as well. Then at some point hopefully you're going to be building up some clientele and everything, or just taking on practice projects or portfolio projects or whatever. And then I just told my boss, which was also my father, because it was a family company that I was working in, that, hey, I want to take Fridays off from now on so that I can do more music. Are you good with that? Can we make that happen? And then we made that happen. And so at that point, it was just a 4-day work week construction, and then basically Friday, Saturday was music and mixing and working with clients and all these things. And then I just very gradually just made that step more and more. So at a certain point, I also took Thursdays off. So then I had Monday through Wednesday was construction, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday was mixing, and just gradually, very slowly, gradually making that transition. I recommend doing that very gradually instead of just quitting your job one day and hope for the best, right? Especially if you don't really have a solid clientele yet. That's going to be a very big challenge, so I do not recommend that. The gradual way is absolutely something I recommend. So yeah, man, just slowly take your time. Don't rush it. Just slowly keep building your portfolio and your clientele and your skills, your the results that you can get people, right, and charge accordingly for those results. And then, yeah, at some point you gotta have to make that step, right? Of like, hey, I'm gonna go to a part-time job now, and gradually walk that road, right? So, dude, hopefully that helps you a little bit. But yeah, I'd say the gradual way, the gradual approach is the right one. and accept the fact that making money is going to feel very different than it does working construction. And it's going to feel unfair. That's weird. It's going to feel like an unfair way of working because you're just sitting here doing your hobby. It's like, what am I doing? This is so weird. I'm getting paid for this, doing my hobby. That makes no sense, right? It's going to feel like that. Just accept that. And just keep working on it. That's the best advice I can give you, man. All right, so that was for Ben, who dropped this question in the community. Let's go over to the chat here. Let's see if we got more questions. Here, Mickey is another way. Yeah, love it. Mickey was 20 years in construction as well, so a lot of people go from construction to music. Love it. Yeah, very similar, Ben. Absolutely, man. Very similar background. All right, let's see. I'm gonna scroll up and get to other people's questions here. Let's see. We've got Johan. He's asking, how do you handle a small room? Can I make this bigger, actually? Actually, no, not this one, but this one. Can I do that? Heck yeah, I can do that. Okay, good. How do you handle a small room when recording drums? My drum room is 170 square feet with a low ceiling. Can you make good recordings in such a space? Yes, absolutely. You totally can. Let me think. I'd say the drier the room is, the better. So that you just can get, like a good close mic recording. I would forget about room mics. There's no way you're going to make that work. Because the room is too small. And then, of course, if you're going to make it dead and dry, then, of course, there's no room sound left to record. But that's probably the best bet that you have, because you want to kill as much reflections because they're going to be building up, right, in such a small room. So the more you can absorb reflections and just have the room fairly dry, the better, I'd say. Then just focus on tuning for 90% of your time and of your effort. Focus on the right tuning of these drum shells and the right mic position, right? Which you can all see in the tracking module, actually, that you have access to. And after that, when it comes to mixing, I tend to rely a lot on room samples to give me room sound if I don't have room mics. There's actually a YouTube video on the Hardcore Music Studio channel, which I've made videos for before BSA, where I'm doing literally this in practice with a band, where I'm working in a very small room. I think the video is called some like mobile recording or something, mobile drum recording in action, something like that, on the Hardcore Music Studio channel. So look it up. I'm recording drums in a small room there as well, and I'm setting up some like room samples afterwards as well, so you can see that in action in that video. But that's how you can get like good dry recordings that don't have any weird like build-ups or whatever. And you can also have room sound in the shape of like room samples afterwards. So I hope that helps Johan. I don't know if Johan is here, but that's totally fine. We can totally get to the replay of this. All right, let's check out John. All right, John Pierce asking, what is needed to start a mixing business? How do I find my first clients and or customers? What is required? You gotta have a mixing setup, obviously. You gotta have skills. That's the absolute most important thing. You gotta have skills. And that's simply because literally everybody can get something decent sounding nowadays with a Superior Drummer preset, or like, I don't know, a Buster Oldham kit or something, and a guitar amp sim, right? And some MIDI bass. And it will, just some presets, it will sound decent. So you have to be above decent before you can even think about getting customers or clients. So that's your main focus, right? Get your skills to that point where people want to pay you for them, and that it's undeniably better than slapping a preset in Superior Drummer and printing that to a stereo track. So that's the first thing, man. You just need skills. That's step one, skills. Step two is proof of your skills, because your skills are non-existent without being able to show proof for your skills. Okay, so that means a portfolio, obviously. And what that portfolio looks like, it really doesn't matter that much if it's like a website or if it's just a SoundCloud playlist for now, or it's just a Dropbox folder with a couple of your best mixes in there. Truly doesn't matter. Don't overthink that part. Just make sure that you have something that you can show to people and send over to people so that they can hear for themselves that you are the real deal and that you're not just somebody that slaps a preset on something, right? That something that they can do themselves. That's it. And then step 3, you got to talk to people and send those mixes to them, right? So kind of push that proof of your skills in people's faces. So skills, proof of your skills, and then push that proof into people's faces. That's like the short version of it. And then inevitably people are gonna either start asking you about working together with you, or you're just gonna like gently kind of suggest like, hey, would you like a free test mix on this old release that you've already released like last year or something? Because I think I can probably do a better mix for you. Here's my proof, right, that I have all these skills. Send me the multitracks if you want to, and I'll just give you a free test mix just to prove myself, get my foot in the door, hopefully get a project out of that. Of course, you won't tell them that. That's going on in your head. But yeah, that's how you do it, man. You just build your skills, build proof of your skills, and then you show that skill to people that would be interested in getting a mix. Offer them a freebie, get your foot in the door. As soon as you have a couple of projects of, local bands, and those are your new portfolio then of course you're not going to want to be doing more free projects. But in my experience, man, it's a great way to just get your foot in the door, get some people to just say yes to working with you, and get the ball rolling, So yeah, hopefully that's a good summarization there. But those 3 steps: skills, proof of skills, shove that proof of skills in people's faces. That's it. All right, let me catch up on you guys. Let's see, push that proof in people's faces. Yeah, absolutely, Max. All right, yep, absolutely, my pleasure, Johan. Cool, let's go into more questions. Richard Reg, how to get clients for mixing services. Yeah, we just talked about that. Okay, this is a good one that kind of ties into the same topic as Sam. How do you reach out to bands when your hometown doesn't have rock or metal shows to go to? It's all online, man, at that point. And that's the same thing for me, because I'm actually in the Netherlands myself. For those of you that don't know yet, I'm in the Netherlands. That's why I've got this silly accent. But I'm pretty much pretty far up north. And Sietse here, if you're still here, who's in Brabant, which is way down in the south, can probably confirm that the entire metalcore, deathcore scene is pretty much located in the south of the country, which is 2 hours driving for me, which in the case of the Netherlands mean that you're pretty much crossing 60% of the country or something. So I'm far off, right, from local rock or metal shows as well. So it's all online at that point. It's your portfolio again, right? It's your website, it's your social media channels, and you prep them in a way where you look like a producer. It looks like, at least on your social media channels, it looks like music, production, recording, mixing is all that you do. That's all that you do. That's what your social media channels should look like, so that people can really see it as like an expert, right? This is all this guy's doing. He must be good. He must be busy. He must be serious. That's people's perception of you gonna be, right? And you can force them to perceive you that way by posting nothing else besides recording and mixing content on your channel. And I don't mean tutorials, but I mean hey, I'm working on this mix right now. Hey, I'm recording this right now. That kind of stuff. And then once you have that in place, then you can literally just reach out to people online, start following them, and bands are gonna be posting content as well. Hey, we have a show coming up. We have a new piece of merchandise that's available now. We have, I don't know, here's some old tour pics from last year, whatever. And they post that stuff hoping that people are gonna react to that, and hoping that people are gonna respond to that and engage with that stuff. And that's gonna be your way in. Bands post stuff hoping that people are gonna respond positively to that, and hoping that people are gonna, hit some comments and whatever. And that's gonna be your way in, because the second you start doing that, they're immediately learning your name, right? And since your social media channels are prepped so well, they're immediately gonna recognize hey, this is a producer. This is a mix engineer. He's busy because there's so much going on his channel, right? It all sounds great. So much proof of his skills there. And then it's just a matter of doing that long enough so that you're not unfamiliar to them anymore, but you're like an actual known face. They literally know your name. They know that you're a mix engineer or producer, and they know that your work's good. That's the goal. And then once you've warmed yourself up to that, to those people, to those bands, then you can reach out to them. And then you can just hit them again with like a free test mix. Or you can hit them with, hey, if you ever play closer to me, I'd love to shake your hand, buy you a beer, whatever. But it's all about that whole process of like, I'm going to engage with everything that you post online in a positive, funny, however feels natural way for you, right? Some people are more funny, some people are more serious. You can ask them about their gear, you can ask them about their studio experiences, you can ask them about anything, right? You can have a 30-minute conversation by just asking a guitar player about what guitar he just played, right? So that shouldn't be that hard. And then, again, as soon as you feel like you've warmed yourself up and you're a well-known face, they know that your work is good and that you're actually a producer. Then you shift the conversation to like, hey, let's work together, actually. Because, we had some cool interaction here and I love the chats that we're having online. Let's work on something. Do you want a free test mix? Boom. Again, that's your way in, right? So online, man, that's the way to go. Hopefully that makes sense, Sam. Okay, let's see what else. I'm running behind on the chat for sure. All right, Aussie Reaper Hub. I like to learn about how to find clients, not necessarily metal bands. Yeah, man, I'd say this works the exact same in pretty much any genre, right? Because engaging with people online and showing them proof of your skills, shoving that down their throats almost, that's not genre specific, right? So same principles. Okay, cool. Let's scroll down. Let's scroll. Good question so far. I love this chat about the business and everything. All right, let's see. Here's a good one. This is classic Dill. Finding clients and focusing on the things that separate a strong demo from a radio quality recording. Man, well, finding clients, I think we covered that pretty much in the past, 20 minutes? Yeah, 20 minutes. What separates a strong demo from a radio quality recording? Obviously, a lot of it is the mixing itself. Because like a good demo will sound like it's still like presets, right? From like the superior drummers and the whatevers. And an actual mix will have unique kind of sounds. And it will, I don't know, how do you explain a radio quality recording versus a strong demo? It's maybe a little bit too broad of a question because there's so many little things that go into going from a demo to a radio quality song. It's not just one big thing. It's like this trick, and then suddenly it's radio ready. It literally starts at the start, right? It starts at tight takes, good in-tune performances on both all of your guitars and all of your instruments and your vocals. All of that stuff should be perfectly in tune. Everything should be perfectly timed, so there shouldn't be any weird timing mistakes in your recordings or edits or whatever, or otherwise it's just not going to be radio quality. Man, like I said, there's so many things. The mix has to be open, it has to be wide, it has to be the low end nowadays has to be massive, right? Otherwise nobody's gonna listen to it. So it's all the things have to be in check, right? So yeah, it's a little vague question. Maybe in the community we can dive a little bit deeper into that topic, like what separates a demo from a quality radio quality song. Bright Heights Production is saying, I'm holding myself back. Please let me know in what way. In what way so that we can help you. Alright, let's see. Love it. You guys are actually tuning in for your lunch breaks. Love that. And yeah, Ben, actually, yes. Imposter syndrome, like we were talking about before, right? Being a construction worker going into music, imposter syndrome is 100% real. It's a weird thing. I never really got over it. I still feel like, who am I to be sitting here to answer you guys' questions? Who am I, right? It never really goes away. I just think you have to accept that it's just gonna be there and do your thing anyways, right? Just I'm still gonna do my best on this mix, right? Regardless if I feel like I'm the right person to do it or not. I'm still gonna do anything that I have in my power to deliver a radio ready mix here. And if that then results in a radio ready mix, good, you know. But yeah, you'll still feel like an imposter, like a cheater. But you're still delivering radio ready mixes, which is your main focus going to be. So sick. Oh yeah, Sean has been a framer as well. Sean, the other team member here on Black Salt Audio, was a framer for 8 years before going into the studio. Love it. All right, let's see. This is Richard. He's asking, how much time do you spend on one song per session? Do you have a daily limit, like 1 hour before switching to the other song? I'm not sure in which context you mean this, Richard. Like, do you mean like recording or mixing, or what is the context here? Like, what are we doing in this time? Because I can tell you from like recording, it's usually 2 days to record one song. And that will be like kind of like a standard rock or metal band. So that will be drums, rhythm guitars and some lead parts, bass guitar, and then vocals. And that will be like 2 days recording, 1 day mixing. And that 1 day of mixing, I'm happy to spread that out over a couple of mixing sessions that are like 3 hours each or something. I love to just sleep on my mixes, you know, just to get a little bit of objectivity back, and just go back to it the next day with like fresh ears again, and just see where I'm at, right? So yeah, that's what a typical session looks like. But I never really switched to other songs. Actually, do I? Let me see. No, I don't actually switch to other. No, that's BS. I do switch. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to think because it's always so muscle memory when you're just going in it, right? So, but no, I do switch between different songs, I'd say. But then it will be like 3 hours in the morning on the client A, whether that's an EP or a single or whatever, and then 3 hours in the afternoon on client B or something like that, right? And then maybe a later session that day as well, to just do some fine tuning or some revisions or whatever. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense, man. 2 days of tracking, 1 day of mixing, so that's pretty much 8 hours for a song. And like I said, I'll easily spread that out over 2 or 3 sessions just to win some objectivity back in the in between. All right, let's see here. This question actually came up in the community as well. I would love to be able to answer this question, but we actually had somebody do that for us, write the song and do the production for us. And I just mixed it with the guitars using all the original tones that he provided. And I have no idea what he used for that. And for drums, I think I replaced kick, snare, and the crash cymbal, because the crash cymbal to me was not great. So I just, actually I can show you what I've done here, because I got Pro Tools open here. Here we go. This is my mix of the Telos Guitars song. This is the overhead tracks, and I'm only using that hi-hat section in the center here. The rest, I kind of replaced all the crashes with a self-made cymbal drum recording library, I guess. Just some bunch of cymbals that I recorded, and I'm planning to someday make a MIDI instrument out of them. But that's it. And for guitars, like I said, I just used the original guitar tracks for pretty much everything except for the guitar solo. I put up the DI for that one, and I'm using the Gojira, the archetype Gojira for that. But yeah, other than that, man, I'm just using the stock stuff that he sent us. But how he made that sound, I've no idea. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Sanjay Foy. Actually, yeah, Sean was already answering that. So. Yeah, this is exactly why we do these plugins, man. Is that they stay out of the way, allow you to stay in a creative flow of mixing. That's why you don't see any numbers on the plugins, right? It's like, who cares what frequency it is, as long as it sounds the way you want it to sound. So, that's the point. Love it. All right, let's see. How do I get over my... This is a good question. Bright Heights. How do I get over my fear no matter what I do, I never reach what I would say is the right balance for the mix. What is the fear about? What are you afraid of? If that makes sense. So let's say you do something crazy in a mix. What's going to happen? What is the fear about, right? What are you afraid of, really? Because as soon as you know what you're afraid of, then we can probably solve that. But right now, how do I get over my fear? That's too broad, too vague. But about reaching the right balance for the mix, I'd say referencing could be a very helpful thing here. Because a reference mix that you really like and that you really enjoy will probably have the right balance, whatever the right balance is, right? That's up to you to decide. Whatever the right balance is, that is your job to decide what that balance is, and then to make that to come out of the speakers. So maybe it's not that you're afraid, but maybe it's just that you don't have a clear vision of what the right balance should be. And so in that case, I'd say you probably just want to spend even more time listening to music and mixing songs so that you can develop your own taste and so that you can develop what you like in a mix and what you like in a balance. To me, this question just feels like maybe a lack of experience, maybe a lack of I guess experience is just the best way. Like, develop your taste so that you know what the right balance will be for you, for your taste, for your mixes, for your style, for your clients, for whatever genre you work on, right? Use some reference tracks to guide you in developing that process and in developing your taste. And after that, there's not going to be any fear in the. It's not even going to be a question anymore, right? Because you're just doing what you like. This is my taste. This is what I'm gonna put here. This is my mix. This is my taste. This is what I love to hear. And if there's people that like that sound too, then hit me up. Here's my email, right? That's pretty much it. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's see. 2 hours driving to Australia. I'm still in the same place in the map. Yeah, dude. Okay. Let's see what else. Seats are here. Good question. How do you determine pricing? Of course, when starting out, you maybe wouldn't charge an hour rate, but how would you determine pricing for certain projects? I never recommend going hourly. Never, ever. Never, never, ever. And that's because when you charge hourly, you're basically putting your client in charge of the quality of the project. And that's because, let's say that you have a policy like, hey guys, we need 2 days for tracking, 1 day for mixing, and then I can guarantee that you get the results that you want to have. And they're like, no, that's too expensive. We want to track a full record in 1 afternoon. And then if it sucks, we're going to blame you and your portfolio is going to suck and yada, 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 right? That's, of course, a very extreme example, but that's literally what's going to happen in smaller ways if you charge hourly. Like, we need 2 more hours to really get all the little dots on the I's for this project. And they're like, nah, we don't really want to pay the extra $50 or whatever. So never go hourly, but always charge per song or per project. That's first and foremost. So that you are in control of how much time you want and how much time you can spend on something, on a project. And that immediately puts you in control of, like, what's the quality of the outcome gonna be. So always per project, never per hour. Maybe a day rate would work if you're like a tracking studio only and people are just gonna come in for 1 or 2 days or something. But if you're just doing like complete productions, I would 100% say just go per song. Because again, it just puts you in control and not your client. After that, I'd say it's a matter of starting with whatever. Whatever. Literally doesn't. I did an entire EP for free to get started. And an entire EP recording and mixing for free just to get started. Just to get something that has my name on it out of the door, right? So I don't recommend doing that, but maybe a free song or 2 or something to get your foot in the door would be a great thing. And after that is just a very slow and again gradual approach into like charging more and more. And if you're charging too much, people will tell you, because right, people will say no. And if you're charging too little, people are probably going to tell you as well, or they're going to tip you, or they're going to be like, actually, man, we actually brought you an extra case of beer because this was so awesome. Those are great hints that you're just undercharging at that moment. So if anybody here just gets tips or whatever, or random gifts or something from the band, charge more for sure. And after that, man, it's just a matter of like feeling it out. It's feeling it out. It's like shout out the highest number that you can think of that people are going to say yes to, and just start the conversation with that. And if people say no, it's too much or whatever, you can always just give them a deal for a reason. You can always be like, actually, I'd love to work with you guys because I love your sound. I love the band. I'm good friends with the bass player, whatever. And so for that reason, I will give you a discount. And can you do this then? And then just, blurt out a lower number. Another great reason to get, to give a discount, I'd say, would be just like, hey, I'm actually building my portfolio and I need some more new projects on my portfolio. So for that reason, again, I will cut you a deal. I will give you a discount, something along those lines. And after that, I'm just like slowly building it up. A great way to kind of raise your rates over time is as soon as you get booked up, like 2 or 3 months in advance or something, then you just raise your rates again a little bit and then see if you're still getting booked up or if that's like the limit and back it down a little bit. But as soon as you got some momentum going, then just raise your rates a little bit. See if the momentum keeps going. And the way I see that is like a lot of people are just afraid, right? That as soon as they raise their rates, all bands from that day on, all bands are going to say no. All bands are going to say like, oh, you're way too expensive. And that never happens. In practice, it never happens. There's always going to be different like layers of bands that are going to be looking for different price rates, I guess, producers and mix engineers. So there's going to be a whole layer of bands, and there's thousands and thousands of them that are just looking for the cheapest mix. That's totally fine. You can totally dig into that layer if you want to. Then there's the layer above that. That's just like the $100 to $200 per song bands, right? The layer above that is like the $500 per song band. And then another layer that's $1,000 and another layer that's like 2,000 plus. And that's like the more professional bands, right? And so as soon as you start shouting out those higher numbers, all you're doing is you're basically positioning yourself on that ladder of like, hey, I'm going to actually be attractive to bands in this layer. Right here, the $100 to $200 layer, whatever, right? And there's thousands of bands in every single layer because as soon as you start shouting out higher numbers, you're positioning yourself into higher layers, like higher up on the ladder. And of course, if you have the proof that you can, so that you can show that you can actually give them something that they will be interested in, they'd be more than happy to pay that. But if you charge too low, you're never going to be interesting to those guys, right? Because like, imagine, I don't know, a Bad Omens, whatever. Those guys are not going to be looking at somebody that's charging only $200 a song. And so that's just, again, this proof that there's different layers of bands looking for different price rates, I guess, or like, different layers of producers, right? And so it's a matter of slowly walking that ladder and just slowly breaking into those like higher layers of bands. I hope that makes any sense at all, but that's the best way I can kind of visually explain that. And you start walking the ladder, man. You start at the bottom and you just walk your way up. So hopefully that helps. Okay, let's see. We got more questions here. This is a good question from Josh. Is it better to set up your mixing or studio business as an LLC or some other type of company? Oh, dude, I don't know. That very much depends on what country you're in and what kind of the tax laws are in that country or even in that county or whatever. I wish I had, all the info about like whatever the best would be for your country and your county and your state and all these things, but I don't, man. For me, it's probably best to be like, I don't even know what that's called. Is that called a sole proprietor? where it's just a one-man business, basically. Is that a sole proprietor or is that an LLC? Like, I don't even know. I'm basically like a one-man company here. Because that's for, the amount of money that I make, probably the best in terms of taxes and everything. So, but it's probably good to talk to somebody that is like a bookkeeper or something like that. Like somebody with more brains and more math skills than we do, to discuss whatever the best would be for you and your country and your state. Okay, let's see. At Rocket here. How do learning mixes get critical, in-depth feedback on mixes from professional? Do you have a professional mentoring for a fee? No, I don't do that personally. I have done that a lot of years in the other program that we've had, the Pro Production System, which the training that you're seeing in the program right now is actually a part of. I've been doing weekly mix reviews there. How to get learning mixes? Okay. I'd say make friends, man. That's probably the best thing is you can do if you want feedback from professionals. You can totally reach out to people as well over their websites or over their social media pages, like producers. I mean, professional producers, and ask them if they'd be happy to check out your mix for a fee and whatever they're charging for that. But I would say probably a more effective way is just to make friends with a lot of people in the community here or in other audio communities that you have online. Try to see who's kind of like the bigger names in those communities and like the people with the best sounding mixes, and try to befriend them a little bit. See if you have some things in common or some common favorite plugins, some common favorite guitar string brands, whatever. Whatever we audio guys like to talk about, right? And then just ask them and just see if they'd be willing to give you some feedback. I think that will be a great way to also get your foot in the door for some editing gigs or something, right? If you have a couple producer friends. All right, let's see. Going back to imposter syndrome, you are not an imposter if you've worked hard to learn your craft. Yes, I do agree, but imposter syndrome means that you will still feel like one, right? And so that has nothing to do with the amount of effort and time you've put into it. It's just like your perception of yourself. Like, oh, even though I did all that, I'm still just that farmer guy from Ohio, right? or I'm still that house painter from the Netherlands that I shouldn't be here. You can still feel that way, right? So either way. All right, let's see. The question was about mixing. Looks like that's good. Yeah, and like Frode is saying, yes, feedback can be given in the BSA community for sure. Drop your mixes in the BSA community. We've got a circle for that. For anybody that's not aware yet, we've got the community mix reviews circle. You can post all of your mixes in there and get feedback on them from people here in the community. All right, let's see if we got more questions here. Just getting lost in the chat here. Okay, here's a good one from GC. I've been struggling with EQ. I've developed my ears lately, but I feel like my ability to fix those problems without create more are lagging. Okay, so fixing problems without creating more problems are lagging. Okay, so I've developed my ears lately. That to me is a weird statement, because I've developed my ears lately means that there's an end to that or something. I don't think there's an end to developing your ears. I don't think there's a beginning to developing your ears. I think it's just a never-ending process where you will constantly get better at developing your ears. And you're probably just not in the level where you would like that to be yet. And the only way to the best way, we'll get into that a little bit, to develop your ears is of course practicing mixing a lot, like a ton. But also a great way to practice and develop your ears is to give other people feedback, like we were just talking about. Because giving people feedback forces you to not only listen for things, but it forces you to put those things into words that somebody else should be able to understand. And that transition between just hearing something and being able to, put words to what you're actually hearing, you're gonna develop fast. The more feedback you give on other people's mixes, the better ears you're gonna have. hands down. So yeah, for everybody, if you want to have, I don't know, just more control over what you're hearing and more kind of like, well, how do you say that? Just better ears, I guess. Give people feedback as much as you can, and again, put it to words, words that other people can understand and interpret correctly. Because yeah, that's gonna be the fastest way that you're gonna develop your ears. So yeah, I feel like I've developed my ears lately. I'd say you started developing your ears lately. That's probably what happened. And that's a never-ending process. So don't ever stop or feel like, oh, my ears haven't developed enough, because they're not. I still feel like I'm still every single day getting more and more used to my speakers, to the sounds that I'm hearing, to what guitars should sound like in a mix, to what kicks and snares should sound like in a mix. That is a process that just never ends. And like we've been talking about before as well, you're going to develop your taste while doing that as well, like at the same time. So it's developing what am I actually hearing? What do I like about it? What do I dislike about it? Can I put that to words? All these things, and that's gonna help you to fix problems, right? Without creating more problems. And if more problems arise, you also know how to fix them immediately, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is that try to give yourself more time to win back objectivity. So take more breaks, and as soon as you go back into the mix after a break, you're gonna have fresh ears. You're gonna have more objectivity. Wow, these guitars are way too mid-rangey. Because you will get blind to things, guaranteed. We all have that. So try to unblind yourself and give yourself more time and just more time to win back some objectivity. I think that's going to help a lot as well. That's exactly why I break down my mixing sessions in like 2 to 3 sessions, right? I never mix a song from scratch to the end in one day or something. I never do that. I always sleep on it, win some objectivity back, go back in with fresh ears, get new input. It's like, whoa, actually my guitars are way too loud or whatever. And then I can immediately dive into that. Hope that helps, Mr. GC. Okay, let's see Josh here. When it comes to recording distorted guitars, I imagine the preference is recording real amps, but is there an audible difference in the sound of real amps and amp sims to the average listener? Nope. No, man, I'd say no. For sure, no. I have a lot of mixes where to you and me it would be obvious that it is like MIDI drums or MIDI bass, and then an average listener would just be like, whoa, this breakdown rocks. They don't care, man. Nobody cares. Nobody cares except us, except the people using that stuff. Nobody cares. I'd also say I don't really even agree with the assumption that that the preference is recording real amps. Like, I could care less. Literally, I could care less. I think 90% of my mixing projects are just me dialing in the tone with an amp sim. People just sending me DIs. And I just throw on the amp sim that I like, and that's the guitar tone, and they're just more than happy to do that. So I don't know, there's still like a big group of people out there that prefer it just for the sake of it's fun. It is, it has a nice feeling to it of like actually putting a mic in front of a cab and getting a sound out of that. There's obvious satisfaction in doing that. But I don't know, but I never really had the space for that kind of stuff or whatever. So it was always more the digital route for me. And so nowadays I'm so attuned to that I actually prefer just giving me the DIs, man, and let me throw on an amp sim, and I'm more than happy to create a tone like that. So yeah, I'd say no. And for like the average listener, absolutely not, man. No, they're not gonna hear anything. My favorite example of that is like, I love it when people say, "Oh, that mix is so overcompressed," and then you'll see them tweaking a compressor when it's in bypass, right? It's like, you don't even know what compression sounds like. So that's the average listener, right? So forget about it, man. You're good to go with the amp sims. Okay, let's see. Lucas here. Let's check it out. 2 things that are still holding me back. I'm not. That's actually a good segue because we're like, what is it, 45, 50 minutes in right now. If there's any more people that have recently joined us, I'm basically asking you guys, what is holding you back about tracking, editing, mixing, building your business, your mindset, your motivation, all these things? Drop it in the chat. What's holding you back? And we'll talk about those things. So Lucas, what's holding you back is I'm not editing drums fast enough. Since I currently find it takes me more than a single day, and trying to find a consistent book of business. Yeah. Well, I've actually heard a couple of the things that you've been editing lately with not amazing drummers and a ton of super fast double kick stuff and everything. So yes, in that case, man, it definitely takes me longer as well. So don't feel bad about that. Other than that, you have the process and everything down. And so for you, it's just a matter of repeating that process often enough. And I know Lucas, by the way, for anybody that's wondering, I've been coaching Lucas for a while already. So that's why I know what he's working on. But no, I'd say for you, man, you got the process down. It's just a matter of getting more experience with that same process. And just repeat it often enough so that you really, build that muscle memory of like, click, click. Now it's like click, 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 right? And it's like after you've done it 3,000 times, it's going to be click, click, click. You're going to go super, super fast. And you just really have to build up that muscle memory. And hopefully maybe in the future you can get a great computer as well that's going to make things easier for you as well. Trying to keep a consistent book of business. Just put into practice all these things that we've been talking about in the beginning of this call, man. Build your skills. It's always two things, guys. It's always two things. When you don't have enough clients, it's always two things. It's either you're not good enough yet, or you're not talking to enough people yet. It's one of those two things. I guarantee if you work on both of these things, you're going to be booking clients left and right. Get great. I don't mean okay. I mean mind-blowing Zach Cervini level great. That's what you want to be aiming for. And talk to more people that would want that for their music. Those are the two steps. That's all you have to do. Forget about the rest. Everything else is optional. Okay, cool. Let's see. And this, absolutely, fully agree here with Mickey F. Definitely try to get the takes so close. Spend more time tracking so that you don't even have to edit as much or not have to do so many, complicated editing, right? It's just going to be like super easy, basic editing, left to right, done. Okay, let's see. George saying, so being more confident in how you're mixing and making it sound good, and one develops their own signature sound of how they produce inspirational. Yes, that is absolutely it. That is absolutely exactly what I mean there. Your own signature sound is your taste. That's all it is. People always think about, I want my signature sound. It's like, no, you just want your taste to be developed and that to come out of the speakers. So develop your taste, right? Yes, you're right on the money here. Absolutely. Okay, let's see. And then, of course, this happens as well, right? In that process, like I don't trust myself in regards to taste yet. Let's put the word yet in there. It sounds great in the studio and in the car, but when I listen to AirPods, it sounds harsh. So I mean fear by letting something out that works on like 75 playback. Okay, in that case, it's one of those two things, right? It's your skills. And so you just have to spend even more time listening to the studio, to your mixes, I should say, to your mixes in the studio, in the car, and on your AirPods, and then try to uncover what is it that makes it sound bad on these AirPods, and try to go on a hunt there and see like why, where is that harshness located? Is it in like the upper presence area or something? Because it's possible that your studio speakers and your car speakers are not as sensitive there. Something is happening, right? So you know where the problem is. It's in the AirPods. And so try to figure out, try to put two words, what you're hearing. Why does your mix not sound amazing in your AirPods? And that, as soon as you can put that to words, then you can start working on the solution. So, it's harsh. The vocals get harsh, or the mid-range is scooped, or I'm boosting too much top end. All of these things can be your next action step, right? But you have to be able to put them to words. So that's your next step. Try to figure out why it sounds bad on your AirPods. And as soon as you can put that to words, then you can, convert that into action steps to take in the mix. All right. Going back to pricing here. First, actually, Richard, yes, the problem in hourly rate is that if you're skilled and work quickly, you end up earning less. Exactly. And here, charging per song or project, would you have different levels, such as demo through to radio quality? No. I never do demos. I don't do demos. And I suggest nobody here does demos, because nobody wants demos. They can make demos themselves with Superior Drummer or with an iPhone in the rehearsal spot. I just do the radio quality stuff. And if you want a demo, then you can book the rehearsal space next door, which is totally fine, right? That's kind of like you know what I'm saying, right? That's kind of like the overall kind of attitude that I recommend you take. Like, I am just the guy if you want that level, like that radio ready level. And if you're looking for a demo, we can do pre-pro to get that radio level sound eventually, for sure. But that's not going to be your end product if you work with me. That's what because I feel like your portfolio, right? Your portfolio, your reputation is everything in this industry. And so if you're the demo guy, then all the demo bands are gonna hire you, right? Because like, oh, you want a good demo? You go to Aussie Reaper, right? Because he's the demo guy. He does great demos, super cheap, super affordable, super quick, But if I'd say it's better to just become known as like, he's the radio quality guy. If you want that radio quality mix, that super high level, punchy, kicks you in the stomach kind of mix, you gotta go to Aussie Reaper Hub guy, right? That's like the reputation that you want to build there. So I really differentiate it. Like, I'm not gonna take projects if you just want to come in for demos. You can do that. And then once you have those demos finished, you call me again and we're going to get your radio quality mix. That's the attitude. That's the way that I recommend everybody approaches it. Unless you want to do demos. Hey, fair enough. Go for it. Absolutely. We need better demos too. So, yes. Let's see. Okay, cool. A lot of you guys are jumping in with the AirPods stuff as well. Love that we're all pretty much on the same track here, which is good. Yes, exactly, Mickey. You can absolutely underprice yourself out of a project. That actually happened to me once with a repeat client, I'll tell you that. Had a client, it was an international client actually. We did one single and it turned out fine. They were happy clients, was good. And then they wanted to come back for a full length, like the year after that or something. And I gave them a rate for the record, which was my highest rate ever that I charged at that moment, at least. And they said, oh, actually, we've got a little bit more budget for this record, so we're going to go to Jeff Dunn for this one. So I was like, dang it. If I charged more, I would have had the project, most likely. So yes, absolutely, you can underprice yourself, for sure. Alrighty, let's go. Okay, there's so many cool questions still. Love it. Just scrolling down. Absolutely both, I'd say. Do recommend you finish a mix first so that you can really get input on the final product, right? You can post music that has been released already as well. Excuse me. But, of course, you can't apply the feedback then, so it's going to be way less valuable. Let's see. All right, let's see. Yep, this is another thing, for sure. Like, after I take a break, in my mixes, I get back into the studio. I first flip through a couple reference tracks for like a minute, if that, and then I go back into my mix, and it's going to be eye-opening if you do that. Matthäus is here. Awesome, good to see you. Yes, actually I do. Lately, a good friend of mine he's in a band called Distant. It's a deathcore band. He developed his own like high gain amp sim. It's called the Distant Tone Suite, and it is by far the best high gain amp sim in the market. I'm not saying that I'm not making money off that thing at all. It's just so easy to get a good tone with that one. It's the Distant Tone Suite, so check that one out for sure. Let's see. Here we go. Williams, good to see your name again, man. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. I'm looking to attract a better quality of client. I get a lot of younger and newer bands, but would like to book bands with bigger names, bigger budgets, and label support. Any tips? Yes, that actually ties into the topics that we've been talking about a little earlier here. Hopefully you've been able to catch that too, where you can underprice yourself out of bigger clients, right? It's like you start walking the ladder. I hope you saw that. If not, you should definitely catch the replay for this. You start walking the ladder of like these different layers of bands that are willing to pay higher and higher prices. But if you want to attract this layer of bands, but you keep charging these prices, there's a big disconnect there, right? So you probably have to raise your rates in order to become more attractive to those bands. And with that in mind, of course, you also have to have the matching quality to be attractive to those kinds of bands. So it's either you're charging too little, your mixes are not high quality enough yet. I have no idea, right? So I'm just making a suggestion here. Or you're not talking to those people. It's one of those three things. And so hopefully you have some insight of like which of those three things are you lacking in the most for now. And then actively work on that. Actively work on either raising the rates or getting even better quality, right? Or talking to even more people. That said, if you have all three of those things down, you'd say, then I would say it's probably a matter of like those higher level clients not seeing you as a good fit yet. And a good way to break into that, I've actually noticed that like just doing the solo projects from people in bigger bands, that's actually going to be a good way kind of in those layers of like higher bands. So to give you an example, in the Netherlands, we have a big core community scene, right? And so it's a ton of like core bands, and it's like a core community, and it's all fun and games, and a lot of bands, a lot of people know each other. And then as soon as you like have a lot of those bands in your portfolio, in your clientele, then there's going to be a couple bigger bands that are going to be like a layer above that. And just by doing solo projects for people in those bands, you can kind of slowly make your way into that. And that's where I'm pretty much at right now in my career as well. So just try to get more, I don't know, man, shake more hands and try to see if you can do some like lower quality projects for higher quality people, and then that's again just going to lead to higher quality projects with higher quality people. Hopefully that helps you a little bit, but it's probably just you undercharging, or your quality isn't there yet, or you're not talking to those people just yet. One of those three should be able to help you. All right, let's see. I want more room tone, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, cool. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Sam is asking, do you always use live kick and snare, or do you sometimes only use samples? I have fully replaced live kick and snare with multi-sample samples. It depends on the source material. Definitely if the quality is there, of course. So let's say the snare recording quality is great, but the snare tuning or the snare itself doesn't suit the song or whatever, then I will still happily replace it fully with a snare sample that, in my taste or my judgment, matches the song better, right? So let's say it's like a very slow, kind of sludgy song, and they recorded a super high tune kind of thingy, like boom, snare. I wouldn't say that matches too well. So in that case, hard replace. I don't even care about using the real recording. What I don't care about that at all. I just want to feel like this snare matches the song, and if that means replacing, I'm totally good to go all out on that. So yes, I've definitely hard replaced as well. But as always, the answer it depends, right? Is the performance of the live kick or snare good? Is the character and the tone, does it match the song, or did they just record something to just give me an idea of like these are the parts, but feel free to do anything, right? In that case, it's probably just going to be a sample. Are they going for like a super lively sound, or do they want to sound more like MIDI drums? Because that's a sound nowadays, right? So all these things combined help me make that decision. So hopefully that helps a bit. Okay, let's catch up. Here's a good one. A couple names holding me back are coming up with a business name and vocal tuning. I have plenty of tracks to practice with, but can't quite get them right. Transparent or natural. Okay, cool. About the business thing, George Rosa. That's your business name. George Rosa. That's it. And I'll tell you why. Because we all know Will Putney. We all know Zach Cervini. We all know Andy Wallace. We all know CLA. We all know their names. But for most of those guys, I have absolutely no idea what their business name is, what studio they work out of. I have no clue. Like, unless you're like a big fan of one of those guys, most people are not going to know whatever their business, name is or whatever. They know the name because that name is attached to many great sounding records. And so I'd say, and they know their name because they have great developed taste, right? Those producers, I should say, they have a developed taste. They have a certain sound. They have a certain reputation. They have a certain way of doing things. And that's why people hire those producers. It's not because of a name or because of a studio or something. So your personal name, man, it's all you. It's all you. It's all your taste that people are going to hire you for. And it's all the way that you make records that is going to connect with a certain group of people. And that's why they're going to hire you. So forget about a business name, man. It's Josh. That's your business name. That's all people want to know from you anyway. So... And then tuning, vocal tuning, transparent and or natural. Definitely check out the editing module in the program as well, because you got access to that. And you'll see that Jordan, in those videos, he does not tune the start of the word. So if there's like a little transition from note to note, excuse me, he will not tune that like... transition. So let's say a singer goes like, whoa, so it kind of goes sharp a little bit, but then lands on the right pitch. You kind of want to keep some of that or most of that in, so that it doesn't just sound like, super, super unnatural like that, and it's not going to be very transparent. So don't tune the start of your word, any word. And I'd say the retune speed or the how many cuts you make if you're using Melodyne or something like that. It's going to determine how natural it sounds as well. So in Melodyne, for example, you can see that little red line, right? And the more flat that line is, the less natural it's going to sound. So the more you can kind of keep that a little wiggly, for lack of a better way to explain that, the better and the more natural it's going to sound like. So, but yeah, I'd love to hear more about like specific problems that you're having with that vocal tuning. In order to really dive deep into that. So, okay, let's see. Tricklops 8. We got a question. When you record a real guitar amp and a DI for better seeing where to edit the recorded track, do you have to phase align each little snippet while tracking step by step? I'm gonna assume that you mean like editing and like cutting up every single DI hit and aligning it to the grid. And no, I absolutely never do that. Because I'd say for drums, I do want to cut every hit and slip it to the grid for sure, yes. But for guitars, it's going to sound very, very unnatural, especially because you got left and right. And then if both of them are like perfectly on the grid, you're going to lose a lot of stereo width because they're just too tightly edited. And it's just going to be... it's going to result in just like the sound kind of, I don't know, melting together or something. It's just not going to be enough difference between the left and right speaker for our brains to pick up on that and for us to perceive it as stereo. Hopefully that makes sense. So I never do that. And second reason is it's going to sound very much like a synthesizer versus a guitar. And I don't know. I'm never a fan. I do like to have very small little timing differences between the left and right on guitars because it's just going to give you a wider sound. So there's a very fine line between when it's too tight and when it's too like loose in the timing. But the tighter you can get it by just having the guitarist play little sections, that's totally fine. Just small sections, couple notes, one riff, maybe at the most, something like that. That's going to be fine. But then, yeah, like I said, don't do like the hard quantizing of every single note because it's going to be very robotic, synthesizer-ish, very narrow. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, Ben, about monitors. When do you decide you should adjust your monitors versus learning your monitors? Good question. I can actually speak on this because as most of the people here that are in the PPS know, I have actually tried to switch monitors a million times and I always failed. So I'm on good old NS10s, okay, and I don't like how they sound necessarily because they're just not impressive whatsoever. And so I've tried Genelec speakers, I've tried Amphion speakers twice. I actually bought Amphion speakers twice because I thought it was going to be an upgrade, while in reality it was just massive downgrades because I just had to learn them, right? But when you're working with clients all the time and everything, you just really don't want to spend that time learning new monitors to solve a problem that you don't even have, which was in my case true, right? It's like I just don't like those. I wanna mix better, so I'm gonna get better gear, and then better gear in this case is very subjective, right? Because it wasn't better gear; it was just different gear, which I was not used to. So in my case, it was just worse gear, which I wasn't used to. And it just gave me way, way worse results when I was mixing. And so I could choose, like, do I want to go all in here and just try to get used to those new speakers? Or do I just accept that it was never about the speakers? It was just about me not, developing my skills far enough yet on my existing speakers. And now I'm just back on NS10s. I don't even care about older speakers anymore. My mixes have never sounded better because I know them so well. These speakers really have no secrets whatsoever. And that's the place where you want to get to, one way or another. If you got a decent setup, you're good. You're good. Stick with it. Because, again, switching it up is probably going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. Definitely true in the short term and maybe even true in the long term. And so it's really up to you if you want to take that gamble. But for me, it turned out to be very not worthwhile for a lot of times. Like literally, I've tried to get away from NS10s 4 times, I think, and failed 4 times. So yes, it took me 4 times to learn that lesson. Which is obviously something to be very proud of. But hopefully you don't have to go through that 4 times. So... I'd say it's always better, man. At least if you got something decent, right? If you got something okay, like NS10s or whatever. Some like, even beginner monitors, man. Like Yamaha HS5, whatever. I've seen people doing amazing mixes on these. As long as you know them, right? That's the point. So, okay. Let's see. Classic deal. When it comes to using drum samples... Are you typically mixing those as well, like adding EQ and compression, or typically not? Yes, all the time. Absolutely yes. Because it's a myth that drum samples are like mix ready. It's like you as the drum sample maker person do not decide when it's mix ready for my mix. you don't have that information, right? You can't make that decision because you're not working in my mix. And so when I import your mix-ready drum sample into my mix, it might sound completely out of place. It might be too much low end in your snare or too little, whatever. Sorry. Too little low end in your snare, whatever. And so I have to be the judge of that as the actual mix engineer. And you have to be the judge of that, right? Whether that drum sample needs anything. So no, I always EQ and compress them, yes. For the goal of just pushing things to 11, right? Pushing things as far as you can go in terms of the amount of low end, the amount of top end, the amount of attack, the amount of sustain. If we're talking about a snare drum, for example, I want to push all of those things as far as I can go because that's really the modern radio sound, right? So, yeah, hopefully that makes sense, man. But you got to be the judge of whether a sound is ready, and it's usually not. So yes, add EQ, add compression, whatever you feel is necessary to get that sample to sound good in your mix. Absolutely. Do whatever. That's basically the answer. Do whatever is necessary. And whatever is necessary has to be done. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. Evian. Sorry, guys. I still fight with my mixes, especially with the drums. I use S33. Okay, cool. How can I have that polished drum sound with it, since that's what I use in and out? Okay, so it's a very broad question for sure. There's great presets in Superior Drummer 3. What I recommend is just grabbing a random preset and just selecting all the sounds that you like hearing, right? The snare that you like, the kick that you like, the cymbals that you like, all these things. And then just print those down to individual audio tracks. And then you just mix them as if you're mixing live drums. And you can see all of that just in the program that you have access to, man. The Academy. There's a big module in there that covers everything about mixing MIDI drums. So highly recommend you check that out, because that's going to be hours, right? We're going to be here for a couple hours if you want to go into how to get polished sound with SD3. But it's all available in the Academy. So check it out for sure. All right, let's see. My voice is slowly giving out, but we're still good to go. Let's see if we can do another maybe 30 minutes or something. If my voice holds out that long. Let's scroll through some questions. Here we go. Okay, cool. Looks like you guys are just hanging out. I love that. Not a ton of questions anymore, looks like. Which is totally fine. Okay, this is a good one here. When do you start mixing? Because I have seen people snapping EQs while they are recording. What is the right time for mixing? So yes, I definitely see people, and I do that myself as well, just throw on an EQ on my kick drum, for example, while I'm recording. And I'd say that is just to kind of make sure that your recording sounds like a record right from the start, right? So that you can really kind of decide, like, this is the tuning of my kick drum, for example. The tuning of my kick drum. This is the way I'm going to mic it, and this is like a starting point EQ. So that way I immediately have a great idea of what this EQ is going to sound like in the final mix. And I can make decisions about that without waiting to like after the recording process to only then start thinking about what do I want things to sound like. So the earlier on you can make decisions about what things should sound like, the more you can commit to those things, the more you're going to have the band and the people that you're working with involved in all these things. And the easier it's, the easier it's going to be when you actually start mixing as well, because you already have the vision down so much into detail, right? It's like, this is already 80% of like the kick sound that I want to have on this record. And then of course, if you treat every single instrument the same way, Mixing is going to be that much easier, man. So it's pretty much you start recording with the end in mind. And so you start slapping on EQs and everything as soon as possible to get that end result out of the speakers as soon as possible, as early on in the process as possible. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, I highly recommend you also check out the tracking module inside the Academy, because Jordan will also show you that in practice, like starting with the end in mind, immediately going for like a radio ready sound while you're tracking. So, hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. How did you start working with BSA? I've actually been working with Jordan for the past couple of years inside his other training program, the Hardcore Music Studio side of things. And then we slowly just took things from there into here. So, I've been working with BSA, I guess, for years already, but then more on the background for sure. Okay, cool. Let's see if we got more questions. Scrolling. Buckle up, guys. This is a long one. Which one was the long one? Okay, let's see. Who is the mixer that only uses AirPods? There's probably multiple, but I've known that Saxer Vinny has been using AirPods a lot in his mixes. So that's one, but there's probably multiple mixes, man, that use AirPods exclusively. Jordan being one of them, absolutely, yes. Yeah. Mickey, yeah. Oh, this is hilarious. Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys saw the live mixing stream a few weeks back. Was it June? Probably early June, where I mixed the the Auras song from scratch. And the first move I did on that vocal was cranking up that 8K by 15 dB, yeah. It's what was necessary, so I had to do it, man. Alright, let's see. Alright, let's see. I definitely missed this one. So, Andrew, are you willing to share your Archetype Gojira presets? Well, I don't really have any presets, but if you're talking about the one that I'm using for the guitar solo in the guitar, in the Telos guitar promo song that you guys are mixing, then absolutely yes, I'm happy to share that. Just send me a DM in the community and I'll send that preset over for sure. About that, by the way, guys, who is attending the or who is actually participating in the Telos guitar mixing contest? Let me know in the chat here. And how are you guys doing with that mix? Did you already submit it or still working on it? Let me know how you guys are doing with that, because you only got 3 days. Yeah, you got August 1. So it's today, 30, 31, and August 1 to submit your mixes. So is anybody here participating in the contest? Would love to hear that. Okay, let's see this one. How do you cut out live cymbals from the overheads when replacing with samples? Also deharsing live crash cymbals. Let me think. I usually don't replace cymbals. It is very, very rare that I do that. And if I do that, actually, let's go to Pro Tools really quick, because I can literally show you. Okay, so let's say this is the overhead track, yeah? So I'll just unmute it, and let's say he's doing an accent crash here, and here, and here, that I don't like, okay? And I want to kind of replace that. So what I would probably do is automate those down for like a fair bit, like so. And then over here, I would just have the MIDI track like I already have with the right sample, and it's just going to play. Does that make sense? So it's just going to be, just automate the wrong cymbals down a bit, and just so that you still get the live sound to come through, but not the ugliness of whatever the problem is that you're having with that cymbal. And then over here, you just have the right cymbal playing, or you just import a WAV file sample and you put it on an audio track here. That's probably what I would do, but again, it's very rare. In this case, it was just easy because these were programmed drums, right? So it's just easy to just select all of these and very quickly draw in the very simple double crash, 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 double crash, crash, that performance, right? It just took me 2 minutes to do that for the entire song. So hopefully that makes sense. But luckily it's very rare, right, where you have to do that. Deharsing live crash cymbals. It's actually a very weird workflow that I have for that. Let's just go back to Pro Tools and show you. Because what I never really do, I used to do this, is just this, right? So just a couple notches and just get rid of everything that is harsh. And to me, that actually doesn't really sound that good at all. So what let me actually move this over to, yes, here we go. So what I recently started doing, let me just draw. So let's say that this yellow line represents what our cymbals sound like. And so there's a ton of 10K happening here. And there's a harsh area here around 2K. What I do nowadays, instead of trying to notch these out, so let's say there's a peak here and a peak there, I just boost everything that is not that. So in between, I just boost more here and I boost more here. And so by just boosting the sounds that are not these problematic sounds, you actually kind of mask them. So it's a more kind of offensive way of mixing. It's maybe not visually the best example here. So let's just make a very, very stripped down, simple example. Let's say our sound is very bright. One way to kind of get rid of that will be to just like cut the brightness out, right? Like that. But what I tend to do nowadays is just boost everything that is not brightness. So this big blue bell here. And that kind of levels it out. Does that make any sense at all? And that to me just feels like a more kind of natural way to kind of solve that. Give that a shot. See if you like that. So for cymbals, it's just I boost a lot of mid-range. I tend to boost a lot of 1.5 or 2K to get way more body in the cymbals. And just having more body automatically lets my ears focus on the body more than on the harshness. And that just completely eliminates the harshness without having to do all these stupid little notches that completely sound unnatural anyway, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. Not from me personally, really. Not that I can remember, actually. No, I don't think I really had that problem where they have like a half-written song or something. Luckily not. No, I think the trick to that is really just communicating a lot up front, right? Like before you even set the date, you're going to be like, what songs are we going to record? Do you have a demo for these? Send these over. Without these demos, we're not even going to book a date, you know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, luckily I haven't had that problem that much. Okay, let's see. Here's a great question. Did you change your mixing approach using Telos or BSA plugins only? No, because like the plugins are basically based on our workflow. And our being like mostly Jordan's and my workflow pretty much were very like, pretty similar in the way that we mix and think about mixing for sure, because I learned everything from Jordan as well. And so it's basically like, hey, what do we want to simplify that we're already doing? And that's the new plugin. So yeah, so no, it's like the exact same approach, but it's just all built into one plugin versus like a chain of 5 or 6 plugins. So no, I don't think we really have to change our approach. It's just like we simplify the same approach into one plugin. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, cool. So you guys, yeah, getting back to the context. Let's see. Max is participating. Love it. Joran, you're also participating. Nice. Reed is doing it. Love it. John is working on it. Mateo submitted it. All right. Love it. Okay, cool. A lot of you guys are doing it. Nice, nice. Great question here as well. CB Productions. In regards to drum samples, do you add samples with a specific purpose in mind as needed for supplementation, or do you have go-to samples you would tend to use in most every mix? It's a little bit of both, actually, I should say. It's definitely both, because there's definitely a couple go-to samples that I go for all the time, because I know I like them. I know they get the job done, right? I know how to mix them, because I've most likely mixed them before, and so I don't want to reinvent the wheel all the time. But it's always with a specific purpose in mind. It's never just slap on a sample just because, right? It's always just because like the live snare recording is maybe not consistent enough. It's just not giving me enough snare, right? So I'm just like augmenting, I guess, just making your snare bigger. That's a goal. Another thing could be, like I said, is more consistency. Another thing can be where you just try to add a sample that sounds way over the top. It's like twice as wide and twice as big low end and everything. You just kind of blend that under your live snare to just give it a little extra push. That can be a reason, but it's always for one of those reasons for sure. It's never just like, I'll do that because that's it, right? So, but that said, like I said, it's definitely a couple samples that I'm using more often, right? It's always like 3 different snares or something and a couple different kicks, you know? And I try to work with some of those, try to see which one suits the song best, and that's going to be the one. So yeah, it's, I don't know, it's like over the years you just will probably collect a couple samples, again, that you like, your taste, that you've developed so well over the years. You know how to mix them, you know that they get the job done, you know that it's appropriate for the genres that you tend to work in the most, that kind of stuff. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. But it's definitely for purposes. Yes, never just because. All right, love it. Andrew, you've bounced your final mix. Still need to do the Telos off version. Cool. Nice. Yeah, next time, man, if the SSL channel would give me 20 dB, I would totally boost 20 dB. But yeah, it was only 15 dB. It's the limit. Too bad. No dates yet. We're working on them for sure, though. Actually, I have not used it in this mix just yet. No, so I wish I could have showed you, but unfortunately I can't. But no, there's no release dates yet for the vocals or bass plugins. It's gonna be soon. And they're gonna be great. They're lovely, just as the guitar and the drums one. They're gonna be sick. Follow up. Any stories of helping bands with creative decision for the arrangement in the studio? For sure, that happens pretty much all the time, man. So I don't think I can just give you any like random story or something, but most bands will need a little bit of like help of like, hey, let's actually cut that bridge in half because we don't need it that long. It feels too long. It feels boring halfway. So let's cut it, or whatever. Let's actually repeat the chorus twice here at the end. Something like that. It's always something like that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have any like specific stories because it's just any specific stories of EQing your kick. It's like you always EQ your kick. You know what I mean? So, yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So, yeah. Okay, this is a great question, actually. When it comes to mixing, actually, I think we should probably sign off after this one, unless you guys got any final great questions. Otherwise, I think we're pretty much, I'm like at the bottom of the chat here, so that's a great sign that we have most questions answered. If not, drop them in the chat right now, because otherwise we're going to sign off in just a couple minutes here. So let's see. Apologies, guys. When it comes to mixing bass guitar, what recommendations of the frequencies do you recommend for it to stand out even played on the phone? There's a couple ones that come to mind. 3 of them, actually. One would be the lower mid-range. It's very broad, right? But the lower mid-range, and I'm usually talking about 160 hertz. That seems to be the frequency that I usually tend to land on. And I boost that a lot, 160, because it's the octave above the fundamental notes. So if you want to get super scientific, you play a C or whatever, the fundamental note is going to be whatever, 70 hertz. I don't know, it's probably wrong. Don't sue me. And so the octave above that will be 140, and that's the frequency that's going to cut out on most, if not all, audio playback systems. So I definitely want to boost a healthy amount of that lower mid-range. That's the first one. The second one would be 800 hertz to 1K. That's another great mid-range frequency where there's a lot of definition to be found. So if you crank it up, you're going to have a lot of definition in the mid-range. It's going to be very easy to hear the bass guitar on its own instead of it just being down there somewhere in the low end and not really audible. So that 800 to 1K. And then the third one would be 1.5 to like 2.5, maybe 3K. And that's just going to give you a nice, and I'm not even talking just about metal bass guitars, but any like typical rock song or even pop songs, these frequencies will work. And at 1.5 to 2.5K area, it's going to feel like air on your bass guitar, even though it's definitely still mid-range, but it's going to feel like a nice, airy kind of polish brightness on your bass guitar. So those three frequencies, 160, 800 to 1K-ish, and then 1.5 to 2.5. Those ranges usually get big boosts in my mixes. All right, let's see. Good one from Sietse here. The average amount of time you spend on a single. Yikes. Let me think. I'd want to say maybe 8 hours. Maybe around that time. It's kind of hard to tell because, like I said in the beginning, I spread it out over like 2 to 3 sessions, which is going to be 3 hours each. I want to say on average, I'd say 7 or 8 hours is probably probably accurate. Yeah, and then most of that time is probably dialing in automation, because as you can see here, this is the Telos Guitar promo song, right? I'm doing a lot of automation on kicks and on snare. This is actually a very bad example, because usually I'm doing a lot more. These are toms, these are cymbals, guitar, this is bass, this is rhythm guitars, and so most of my time is just spending in automation mode here, and just making sure that in every section of the song the balance makes sense to me, and it constantly changes, right? So rhythm guitars come up here, go way down here, even go down here, you know? So it's just like per section I just try to make the right balance, which of course all again comes down to taste and all these things that we discussed on earlier. So that's most of my time, but on average, man, 7-8 hours, something like that. Yeah. All right, no stress, man. I've been called worse things for sure, like Roelof or anything, so I'll totally accept this. That's all good, Ben. Hey, Anders, good to see you, man. Anders is another old student here. Love it, dude. Good to see you. When changing or upgrading monitors or listening space, what are the main 3 things to do or think about? Don't do it. Don't do it. That's the second one. And the third one is don't do it. Don't do it. No, I'm kidding. Let me think, man. If you insist on upgrading, dude, I don't know. I'm probably the worst person to ask, because I'm just going to recommend everybody should mix on NS10s or CLA10s in a somewhat dry room. You can get pro results. And I'm speaking from experience in that, right? So, I don't know, man. It's like 3 things to think about. Make sure that the mid-range is accurate. Make sure that you got somewhat decent pair of headphones or something that you can use to check the low end. And make sure that it's, oh, you got NS10s. Awesome. Yeah, nice. In that case, man, just make sure that your room is kind of dry. That's the biggest thing. Make sure that there's not a ton of like reflections circling around in your room. That's probably the only thing you have to worry about when you mix on NS10s, which is why I recommend people to use them. And I'm not affiliated with Avantone or whatever for selling CLA10s or something, just in case. But no, man, that to me is just a fail-safe recipe for getting pro mixes. Because the NS10s or CLA10s will give you everything you need in maybe not the most pleasant sounding way, but at least in the most honest way. And you don't have to do a ton of treatment for making them work. You just have to get your room to be fairly dry. And that's it. So NS10s, fairly dry room, some headphones for the low end. Man, you're absolutely solid. And you never have to think about upgrading again. And trust me, I tried, right? Like I shared the story. So hopefully this helps for sure, man. Love it. All right, guys. I think this will be a great great time to sign off here because my voice is definitely giving out. So hopefully you guys found a lot of value here. And if you got more questions, definitely keep dropping them in the community, and we'll happily give you more advice and feedback in there for sure. For those of you participating, make sure that you submit your mixes for the Telos Guitars contest before August 1st, midnight Eastern time. That's the deadline. So make sure you post your mixes before that, or submit them, I should say. Other than that, we've got more plugins coming, we've got more contests coming, and we actually have another Q&A call coming up, which is going to be mix reviews. Let me actually check the date for that so that you guys can hopefully show up for that. August 22nd. That's when we're going to have our mix review call. So if you can show up on that on that call with links to your mixes, then we're going to review them live for you and give you feedback here. So that's going to be awesome. So we'll see you guys then and there. And until then, all the best to you guys. Drop all your questions in the community and we'll get back to you there. Have a great day, and we'll see each other very, very soon.